رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدي وحبيبي ونور قلبي وثمرة فؤادي أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
قال الله العلي العظيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نظرة وسرورا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
In fact, I came prepared to talk about the lessons of Luqman, but I think there is a U-turn. And I would like to continue to echo what our dear Imam and teacher and mentor has started. And I hope, inshallah, as he started today, is the first of Rajab. And Rajab is known also in the month of Ahlul-bait alayhim salam. So I would like in that footsteps to continue about these ayahs that we just recited from Surah Al-Insan or Surah Al-Dahr. These ayahs that we just read, they are the ayahs that talks about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam. And those ayahs, Allah is mentioning 5 things that Ahlul-bait did and they deserve Allah's reward Yawm al-Qiyamah. 5 things. And I would like also to learn from these 5 things, because really normally this is from me, I'm speaking. When we say something about Ahlul-bait or the Prophet, really I want us to see what did they do to become who they are, so we can learn to follow their steps. When we talk about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, it's not about to say, whoa, mashallah, mashallah, this and this, and that's it. No, it's mainly to live with something from them, learn something from them. Anytime we hear something about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, their lives supposed to change us. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, their life is changing, to change people. And that's what the Quran says when he talks about the Prophet in Surah Al-Jum'ah. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب. That's what the Prophet does. Purifies people, teaches them, elevate them spiritually, and so on and so forth. For that matter, I just want us to take some lessons from these verses as we speak about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam. These ayahs was revealed according to the Mufassirin. In Tafsir al-Mizan, Tafsir al-Tabrasi, Tafsir al-Amthal, and Tafsir al-Alusi. These are great scholars from both schools of thought. They all agree that these ayahs was revealed upon the Prophet in an incident that took place in Medina at the time of the Prophet. And the incident was Al-Imam Al-Hassan and Hussein were sick. And this is also a lesson. Because sometimes Allah wants to tell us that they are also a human being like us. Because some of us we think, Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, they are not humans. No, they are humans. And that is why we can learn from them. And they live like a normal human beings. So we can learn from them. And one of the things that happened to them is they can get sick too. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this so we can learn something. So when Hassan and Hussein, they both were sick. Rasulullah came to visit. And he saw their situation. And he said to Imam Ali, say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, it will be a good idea if you do nadhar. What is the nadhar? A nadhar in Urdu is different than the nadhar in Arabic. You make it clear. Right? And nadhar, mostly in Pakistan and India, is food. Right? You read Fatiha, Marhumin, Ahlul-bait. That's nadhar. In Arabic, a nadhar is different. Right? And this nadhar, you can find it in fiqh. Because it has a very deep root in Islam. And nadhar means what? Is to vow to Allah. That, oh Allah, if you do such thing for me, in return, I will do something for you. It's a promise you do with Allah, contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that contract, it has rules and regulations. Number one, I cannot say to Allah, Ya Allah, if you help me to steal somebody's money, in return I'll give sadaqah. Oh, that is batil from the beginning. Is he asking Allah to help you to do haram? Allah doesn't help anything haram. Inna Allah la ya'mur bil fashai. Allah said, I don't do those things. Right? Now you cannot say to Allah, Ya Allah, if you help me to get a job, in return, I will go and have a liquor to thank you. I'll go to a bar and have a mashallah glass of wine. Alhamdulillah for your help. No, that doesn't help in Islam. Allah doesn't accept that. Right? So what it is that another is what I want from Allah should be halal. And what I'm promising to do for Allah should also be halal. Example, oh Allah, if you help me to find a job, in return, I will give a sadaqah. I will feed a poor. I will read Quran. I will do 2 rak'ah prayer. This is called nadhar, that's fine. This nadhar, it has rules and regulations. And the rule is that the first one, if Allah does His, right, then it's wajib for you to fulfill yours as well. If Allah doesn't, what you ask Allah, if it doesn't happen, then you are not obligated to do your part as well. But if Allah does His, you have to do yours. That is for us. Right? But now there is another level, which is Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, Allah is talking, that they used to do 5 things. Right? And the first thing that Allah mentioned that Ahlul-bait they do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Yufuna bin nadhar. They keep their promises with Allah. And you know this, how do they keep their promises? See, for example, you and I, when we want to do another, I say, Ya Allah, help me to find a job. Right? Then when I do, okay, now I'm going to wait Allah if He's going to give me a job or not. If He doesn't give, then He's not going to get me doing sadaqah either. Because I don't trust Allah that much. Right? But Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, when they say to Allah, Ya Allah, Ahlul-bait, this ayah, when they say, Ya Allah, if you give Hassan and Hussein shafa, you kill them, Ya Allah, we will fast 3 days. The next day, they didn't wait till Hassan and Hussein fell back. The next day they started the fast. You know why? Because they believe even if Allah didn't give them the best at the shifa, He will never leave them empty-handed. They understood to that point. That's why Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, immediately when the Prophet suggested, the next day they started their normal, the fasting. And amazing, the fast was just Imam Ali and Zahra and their maid, Fadda. These are the 3. But Imam Hassan and Hussein, even though they were not valid at that time, but they did fast again. So they did fast with the family as well. Even though it's not wajib. And that is one of the lessons also for us. The first lesson we should learn as a parent is to start teaching our children things that are not wajib from the young age. Don't wait until they say, oh, one day become 14. That is when your problem starts. Right? Because if you want to plant a tree and you want the tree to grow in one direction, you have to strain it from the beginning. Right? From the beginning you have to start. You don't wait until they become a tree, then now you say, oh, now I want it to go this way. It's not going to happen. Either you break it or either you leave it the way it is. People are like that too. And the Prophet tells us from when to start. Right? The Prophet tells us, if you want to teach your children a habit that is supposed to be part of them, which is wajib, he said, don't wait until they become after 7 years. From 7 years, you have to make sure, if you're late, the latest you can wait until the 7 years. From 7, make sure that you start to teach them. Right? The Prophet ﷺ in hadith, he says, عَلِّمُوا أَوْلَادَكُمُ الصَّلَاةِ وَضْرِبُوهُمْ لِسَبْعٍ. From 5 and 6, start teaching them salah, namaz. Right? Let them stand next to you. Let them sit down, see how you pray. Right? Encourage them. But when you get 7, I said that is the time you have to make sure that you push them small. Right? Little by little. Pray. Do wudu. Start learning. Why? Because another hadith tells us, it might be hikmah, it says, Al-ilmu fi as-sighar kan-naqsha ala al-hajar. Learning from the childhood is like ingraining on the stone. It stays there. If they start, it becomes habit. And the same thing applies to hijab too. The younger sisters, they should be started teaching hijab. Don't wait until she becomes 16, 17. Now they know how to present herself, mashallah, her hair. And I said, now you have to start doing hijab. It's too late. Imam Hassan and Hussein, the first lesson we learned from this ayah, as they were as children, but they were fasting with their parents, even though fasting was not wajib. 1. 2, even though they didn't do the nadr was Hassan with Imam Ali and Fatima, but they also voluntarily, they wanted to participate in khair. And the second lesson we learned from this ayah is, never wait to be invited to do khair. Some of us, when there is khair, I said, they never called me. Oh, khair. If somebody is giving $1,000, would you wait to be called on the phone or are you going to run to it? Huh? Money, we don't want to invitation. But when it's khair, no, nobody invited me. No, khair, you just have to rush to it. And Quran mentioned, it said, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Istibaq, compete. Don't wait to be invited. And Hassan and Hussein, they never waited to say, okay, when I become 15, 16, Bali, then I will fast. No, at that young age, they started with their parents together. Right? And Quran said, يُوفُونَ بِالنَّذَرِ. Always when they promise, they keep that promise. And look at the first ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, yufun, it came in the form of present tense. And in Arabic, they say present tense means yufidul istimrar. Continuously. Meaning, don't think that this is just the one incident that took place and Allah was happy with them and He mentioned the ayah. No, Allah said, yufuna bin nadar. They were doing this so many years, and one of them is this ayah that we want you to know about them. That is one. So one of the qualities of Ahlul-bait that deserve Allah's and that cause Allah's attention to mention this in the Quran is they always keep promises. And this is very important, brothers. See, sometimes there is a promise between a person with Allah. Sometimes there is a promise between a person and another person. Sometimes a promise between a person and his daughter, a person with his son, a person with his friend. Every promise is supposed to be honored in Islam. And the most important one is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And keeping promise is such important that Allah make it one of the sign of mu'minun in Surah Al-Mu'minun. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. One of the sign of mu'min, Allah says, is that when they promise, they were entrusted with something, they keep it. They never break their promises. Whether with humans or with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's very important. And the one that comes most important is our promise with Allah. And Allah says, Ahlul-bait, yufuna bin nadhr. They always keep their promise. When they promised Allah to fast 3 days, they did. Right? So this nadhr, what happened? They said the first day they fasted, and amazing, in some of the mufassirin, they said when they wanted to fast, they did not have anything at home. Even the food was not at home. Imam Ali alayhi salam went out and borrowed wheat from a man and brought it and gave it to Zahra. Ya Zahra, use this to make bread so we can fast and break our fast from it. Zahra alayhi salam, she took it and she started to make bread. And then at the evening, at the time of breaking their fast, they had a stranger knock. Imam Ali alayhi salam opened the door and there was a man at the door. Who are you? He said, I am Miskeen. And you know one thing about this ayah, and that is another lesson we should learn. Right? Quran tells us that when they gave, they didn't give because of the religion or because of the look. No. In Islam, when you look at the Quran, Allah said, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ Miskin, a needy. Not necessarily Muslims, not necessarily a Christian, not necessarily a Jew. As long as they needy, they deserve a Muslim help. And inshallah, someday we might talk about this, because there is a lot of debate about how to help a needy, right? Because sometimes people ask, a needy, sometimes you walk on the street. Some people, they hold a sign, right? They say, I'm homeless, I don't have a house, I need a help. Some people, maybe they might not be needy, but they standing there, they became professional beggars. Alright? So can I give those people, or I can't give them in Islam? That is one question. Question number 2. Now sometimes I know this person, he might use the money into haram. He does drugs. He takes something that is haram. They do alcohol. And they ask, can I give them, or I can't give them? Alright? Now you go back to Ahlul-bait alayhim salam. You know, Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, one of their character is that they never ever say no to anybody who asks. In their life, they know there's nothing called no. No. And you know one of the one who described them the best way to understand what I just said? Farazdak. Farazdak, when he was in Mecca, when Hisham bin Abdul Malik walks in the Mecca, and he saw there was so many people around the Mecca, and they didn't give him space to go and do tawaf. Well, Imam Zayn al-Abidin walks in, very, very gentle, with his abba. As he walks inside the Mecca, people give him spot. He went and kissed Kaaba and started his tawaf. The man was sitting asking him, Ya Hisham bin Abdul Malik, who is this man? He said, I don't know him. Farazak was there. He said, you don't know him? I will introduce him to you. Who's him? He says, هذا الذي تعرف البطحاء وأته والبيت تعرفه والحل والحرم بجده الأنبياء قد ختموا هذا الذي ما قال لا إلا في التشهد لولا التشهد كان لاؤه نعم. He said, this Imam that you see, you say you don't know him? He said, even the house, the Kaaba that you're in now, he knows who this man is. This man, with him, with his grandfather, the prophethood came to an end. His father is the seal of the prophet. And he said, not only that, this man never said no to anybody. He said, except in tashahhud. When he said, La ashhadu an la ilah. That's what he said, la. Right? He said, not because of here. He said, that la will have been, yes. In terms of giving. That is Ahlul-bait alayhi salam. Right? So that is how much we have to understand. So the first thing that we learn from this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُوفُونَ بِالنَّذْرِ. They always keep their promise. That is the first quality of Ahlul-bait alayhi salam. Number 2, وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَقِيمًا. And they always have يوم القيامة in mind. And amazing, look at the ayahs, how Allah describes them. The first one said, yufun, in the form of present tense. The second one, wa yakhafun. Meaning, sometimes I can be a fear of Allah when I'm in Mecca. Or I go to Ziyarah, my iman goes up. Because I'm in the holy place, right? But when I come back, 180 degrees, right? They'll change. Some people, mashallah, back at home, I am mu'min. When I come to the United States, I become somebody else. Because there's freedom here, there's no freedom there, right? And that is why Prophet Isa alayhi salam, in the Quran, he made one good statement when he was describing himself. He said, وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ. I don't change because of places, no. I stay who I am regardless of situation, regardless of the environment. A place doesn't change me, I'm supposed to change the environment. That's the difference between human and others. When I go to a place and the place becomes influential into me and I change, then I'm not a right person. Right? That's why Isa in the Quran he said, وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ. Wherever I go, I'm the same Abdullah. I'm not going to change. Right? So Quran tells us also about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam that they never change. وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا. Because sometimes we become mu'mineen. When we go to Mecca or Haram or Karbala or we go to Mashhad, because when we're in that environment, we become mu'mineen. When we come home, it's like we take the shirt of taqwa, we put it down and we put our normal shirt. Right? It's like you haram when you go to Mecca, you take your normal clothes and then you put ihram on. Labbaik, labbaik, labbaik. After the taksir, ihram, Khuda Hafiz, now my normal clothes, I'm back to normal life. Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, Quran says, وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَقِيمًا. And they're thinking about one important day in their life. The most important day in our life, because every human being, whether we like it or not, we have 3 days that is the most important days in our life. One is the day we were born, and the day we die, and the day of Qiyamah. Every human being, a Muslim, not Muslim, we always look at least for these 2. A Muslim added one more to make it 3. Every human being takes their birthday, very important. Every human being takes the day they die, very important, right? If they don't believe in Yawm al-Qiyamah, a Muslim also believes there is a day that I will be resurrected. And that day is more important than any of this. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسِ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. The day that all humans will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? The day of accountability. So the ayah tells us that Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, وَيَخَافُونَ. And they always have a fear of that day. And one simple example, Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullah alayhi, whenever he reads Surah Al-Fatiha, they say, and he reaches to the ayah, Maliki Yawmiddin, he faints. Because he knows Yawmiddin, what does it mean? Yawm, that day. Azim, the great day. The most mentioned day in the Quran is Yawm al-Qiyamah. The most scariest day in every human being's life is Yawm al-Qiyamah. That is the day that Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, they always have that day in mind. يَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَقِيمًا. The day that, the evil of that day cannot be stand by anybody. Now when you go to some of the Mufassirin, they talk about that day, it's really scary. Even Quran, when he describes it, it's scary. You listen to some of the Surah Al-Hajj, what did Allah describe about that day? He says, يَوْمَ تَذْهَلُ كُلُّ مُرْضِعَةٍ عَمَّا أَرْضَعَتْ وَتَضَعُ كُلَّ ذَاتِ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا. The day that a woman who is breastfeeding her baby will throw her baby. Not the baby is going to fall. No, no, no. Sometimes the baby falls, right? No, no. Tadhhal. Because of the fear of that day, I said a woman, a mother. I'm not talking about a mother who doesn't care about this. No, no. A mother means somebody who cares about their children. And they will do anything for their child. Quran says because of that day, they will throw that baby away. Right? Not just that. وَتَضَعُ كُلَّ حَمْلٍ ذَاتْ حَمْلًا. The pregnant woman will lose the pregnancy. Because of that day. Is that all? No, no. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارًا. You see people are walking as they are drunk. Quran says, وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارًا. but they are not drunk. لكن عذاب الله شديد. Allah said, but because of the punishment of that day is so severe. Allah is describing it. Another ayah tells you about that day. He said, يوم يجعل الولدان شيبا. The day that a baby will be born and the hair turns gray. What is the cause? Because of the greatness of that day. Isn't this day a scary day? That's what Ahlul-bait alayhi salam say. And Yawm al-Qiyamah is always in front of them. It's like it's happening right now. Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he talks, he says, آخٍ min بعد الطريق ووحشة الطريق. He said, what a long journey after death. And what a scary journey. And we call a person, when the person died the first night of burial, we call it Laylatul Wahsha. Right? And Wahsha means what? Wahsh. Allahu Akbar. The night of fear. Wahsh. Person become confused, doesn't know what to do. It's not a joke, Yawm al-Qiyamah. And that is called Qiyamah Sughra. That cover is called Sughra, right? Because we have As-Saghir and Kabir, right? Now As-Sughra, the minor one. And that's the situation. Isn't that day supposed to be scary? Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, Quran says, يَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَقِيمًا. They're so scared about that day, Yawm al-Qiyamah. That is quality number 2. Quality number 3. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ. They feed in the needs. They feed the food. They share whatever Allah has given them. And amazing, look, the first ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Yufun. Is that what they are? The second one, وَيَخَافُونَ. What they are. The third one, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ. All these are continuously acts that they do. And Allah said, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ. And they feed people. You know, one of the greatest acts of a man is to always feed people. Ibrahim al-Khalil alayhi salam, when they asked him, Ya Ibrahim, how did you become that great and became a friend of Allah? He says, لِشَيْئَيْن صِدْقُ الْحَدِيثِ وَإِطْعَامُ الطَّعَامِ. He said, I always told the truth and I always feed people. Feeding. You know, Ibrahim al-Khalil, that was like his second job. Every day, he never eats a food unless somebody's with him. No food ever been kept in the house for Ibrahim that he will eat alone. No. And never had a friend or a somebody at home without cooking for them. That is why, because of his so much feeding, he was even cooking for angels. And Quran tells about us that when the angel Jibreel and Mikael came to his house in the form of human, he thought they were human, so he went, mashallah, and he slaughtered a baby cow, and he cooked it, and he barbecued it, and brought to them. They come on this barbecue. Go ahead, guys. Right? And they were looking at him, what are you talking about? Go ahead. And they were like, no. Then Ibrahim alayhi salam, when Quran said, وَإِلَىٰ أَنْ جَاءَ بِعِجْلٍ حَنِينٍ. Barbecue to them. And then they said, we are not going to eat. Also, why are you not eating? He said, we are angels. We don't eat. That was when he came down. That is Ibrahim al-Khalil. Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, they never go one night without feeding anybody. Imam Ali alayhi salam, one of the ways that people recognize that he was the one who died is when the night people didn't receive anybody bringing them food. Imam Zayn al-Abidin was the same thing. In Medina, he used to go and knock the doors of the poor people and make sure that they have food. Islam also emphasized that about feeding. And the Prophet said in one of the hadith, he said, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ بَاتَ شَبْعَانْ وَجَارُهُ جَائِعٌ. Anybody who goes to sleep and has had a full stomach and his neighbors are hungry, he says, not one of us. You have to share with them. Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, that's what they used to do. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. Here there's two tafsir. The word hub, some people say ala hubbillah. Ala hubbihi, meaning they give in the food out of the love that they have for Allah. You're not giving for another reason. That's tafsir 1. Tafsir number 2 is no. The word hubbihi, it refers to ta'am. They give the food when they still love the food. himself. And that is much stronger. You know why? Because maybe most of us, when we give sadaqah, we give what we don't need, right? If I give charity, I call NCC or any of these organization, and look at my clothes that I don't wear anymore. Right? The ones that have some stains on them, the ones that they're now small on me, the one that I've been wearing them for 20 years, you can have that. But the nice ones that I bought new, they're all mashallah, dry cleaning, they're all organized, that stays for me. Right? That is us. But Ahlul-bait, they are opposite. They give the best of what they have for others and keep the worst for themselves. And that's why when the Quran described it, it said, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. They put others first. And Allah, brothers, trust me, what we mention about this, even if you take one of this, one, forget about the fact, just one, and work on myself for 1 year, wallahi, you will see the big change in your life. Just one. Because don't say I'm going to do all the 5, it's impossible. Right? Just one. So let's say I'm going to be a one who feeds, for example. Oh, we know the good things. One of them will be enough for the rest of your life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. Okay, there are 2 tafsir. Some people say this incident happened in Mecca. And the majority of the scholars say it happened in Medina. Right? But one of the proofs that this happened in Medina is because of the word asir. Because in Mecca there was no prison. Because there was no war. The prison started when the Prophet moved to Medina. And that's when the war started. So if we say the incident happened in Mecca, right, then the ayah will not be making sense. Because there was no any prisoner at that time. It has to be in Medina. So that is one of the proof that this ayah was revealed in Medina. So it says, يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا, an orphan. And that is one of the individuals that today is forgotten. You know, al-yatim is an orphan who lost his father. And the age before the bulugh. Because if somebody lost their father after they baligh, they don't call them yatim. If somebody lost a mother, it's not called yatim. Yatim is when a person loses his father. And before they become baligh, it's called yatim. Now the Quran tells us, al-yatim وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا. Feeding an orphan is one of the greatest jobs. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Ma'un, one of the people who will be punished are the people who don't encourage feeding the orphans. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet in Surah Al-Duha, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. Be kind to them. And one of the hadith, the Prophet says, he says, أَنَا وَكَافِلُ الْيَتِيمِ كَهَاتَيْنِ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. The person who takes care of the orphan, one orphan, take care of them. The Prophet said, me and that person are like this in heaven. One hadith the Prophet says, he said, if a person puts his hand on the head of an orphan and rubs on it out of mercy, he said, every hair that his hand wipes on that baby, he said, Allah writes him 70 good deeds. Just one. And one hadith the Prophet says, irhamu aytam al-akharin yutahannan ala aytamikum. You take care of the other people's orphans. If Allah is to take my life early, people will have mercy on my children too. And the reward of it is great. And especially today, we have Muslim worlds where there are so many orphans. And really it doesn't cost much to take care of them. Some of them 1 month. Amount that it costs to spend on them is the amount that we go and spend in one meal in a restaurant. $80, $40 that we spend at one meal with our families, that is enough to take care of a full month of one orphan. Why not to buy Jannah with this? Right? The Quran tells us that Imam Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, they were taking care of orphans. Wa asira, and prisoners as well. And amazing, this is one of the lessons. There is no time to go into this, to tell those who take the prisoners and so-called Muslims, and they abuse the prisoners. That is absolutely against teaching of Islam. If you want to learn how Islam respect a prisoner, come to Ahlul-bait alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam, before his shahada, he tell his son, Imam Hassan, he said, Bunayya al-Hassan, at'imuhu mimma ta'kulun, wasquhu mimma tashrabun. He said, my son, this guy is a prisoner. Now he's prisoner. Prisoner? I said, but I want you to feed him exactly what you eat. And make sure he drinks exactly what you drink. And he said, I do not allow you to mistreat him in the name that he hurt your father. No. Where can you find these teachings other than Ahlul-bait alayhi salam? Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he said to Imam Hassan, he said, Bunayya idha mit, he said, if I die from this injury, he said, idribuhu darba bi darba. He said, strike him once, because he struck me once. He hurt me once. So strike him once, that's it. And he says, La ulfiyanna lakum. Wallah, this is not balagha. He said, I'm not going to allow you to go around attacking people in the name that your father was killed. No. Ala la yuqtalu illa biqatili. Nobody's allowed to be killed except the one who killed me. He killed me, he gets killed, that's it. But that's not an excuse to go and kill his family, his father, his relatives, because he killed Imam Ali. No. That is how Islam teaches how to treat a prisoner. And today you have people who call themselves Muslims and they capture prisoners who are not even prisoners to begin with. Right? Because in Islam, for somebody to become a prisoner, it's not just a word, I go and take a gun and attack people in the name of they are not Muslim. No. In Islam, for somebody to become a prisoner, first of all, the war has to be authorized by Rasulullah or by the Imam. Or by the Na'ib al-Imam, which is the Marja. It's not by choice. I say, okay, because I have a turban on my head, I say, go and attack these people. Who are you? In Islam, you don't have that authority. It has to come from above. Right? And not only that, even if you capture the enemy, Islam says you cannot keep them as a prisoner. Why? It says, first of all, you have to look. If there is one Muslim prisoner on the other side, you have to exchange, even if you have to give all of those and bring that Muslim back. You have to do that. Can't keep a Muslim as a prisoner just because you have 20 prisoners here. No. And Islam said, even when they bring the prisoners, you have to treat them right. Because they're humans too. They have feelings. They have pain. You have to treat them nicely. And Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, they teach us this. And then he says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. Now Ahlul-bait, did they say this verbally? Or Allah is telling them, they say about what is in their heart. And tafsir, they say, they never said this. Ahlul-bait alayhi salam, they never came out to tell those miskin and yatim and asir, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ. No, Allah was telling us what is in their heart. As what at the time of feeding. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ. The only reason we feed it, it says, it's only because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكْرًا. They say, we don't expect any gratefulness from you or to take thank you to us. Now come to us, right? Now when I help somebody to get him a job, right? Between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tomorrow I come to Idara on an SS Mosque. I see him coming from work. Oh, where are you coming from? Coming from work. Oh, the work that I find for you? Right? So other people can know, how you find him a job? MashaAllah. Right? And clothes he's wearing because I bought him for his birthday. Oh, you like this shirt that I got you on your birthday? If you don't say that, what will happen? Well, when you come to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى. Don't destroy your sadaqah, your good deeds, by showing off and hurting other people's feelings. Allah loves when you give, to give in hiding. In some of the hadith they say, when you give, they say, don't let the left hand to see what you give. That's how much Islam wants you to be. They call al-khifa al-shadid. That is how much Islam teaches. Ahlul-bait, they say, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. And then they say, Inna nakhafu min rabbina. One of the reasons, number 4, they say, Inna nakhafu min rabbina. The reason is because we have fear of our Lord. Yawman abusan qamtarira. The day that they will be frowning faces at certain people because of their bad deeds. Right? That is why we are doing all of this. No, because of lack of time. Here there is one, because we're talking about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, there is one mufassir is called Alusi. Alusi is one of the mufassirin of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, great scholar. He made a beautiful commentary about Zahra alayhi salam. He said, when Allah mentioned all this about Ahlul-bait alayhim salam, he said that because when you go to the ayat, there's almost like 7-8 ayahs, Allah talks about the blessing that He has prepared for Ahlul-bait. Jannatan wa sururan wa daniyatan alayhi qutufatan. Allah talks about all the blessings. He said, Alusi, he said, I watch all those things that Allah mentioned. He said, one thing Allah didn't mention in there. And that is about Hur al-Ain in this ayah. He said, which is unusual for Allah. Anytime Allah mentions about blessings of heaven, He will talk about drink, He will talk about the children, He will talk about food, He will talk about so many things, including Hur al-Ain, He said, except in this one. Why? He said, احتراما للزهراء عليه السلام. He said, out of respect for Zahra, Allah didn't mention any woman because Zahra is already here. And no woman can match with her whenever she is any place because she is Sayyidatun Nisa al-Awwaleen wal-Akhirin. That is Zahra. That's one of the fada'il. So when you look at the surah we just talked about, one of the fada'il of Zahra alayhi salam is that Allah mentioned all the blessings of heaven, but because of Zahra, Allah did not mention any Hur al-Ain. Look at the ayah, Allah mentioned even children who will be serving in there. The food, Allah mentioned in there, but not Hur al-Ain. Why? Because of Zahra alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be the truthful words of Ahlul-bait alayhi salam. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Yeah, the answer for that question you said, if there is I'm hungry or I'm homeless, can you explain that? Should we give them?
Yes, the question is about people who say they are hungry. The answer is, if I don't have any proof that this person will abuse that, then yes, one should give them. But if I know for sure that they will use the money in haram, then no, one should not. Yes, one should not. Because even giving them and that money, it's like you're encouraging them to do the wrong thing that they do. So no, one should not. But you have to be certain and sure that, yes, they will use it in that or in that direction.
But if we buy them something to eat, that's okay then.
That is best. That is even better. That is because then you know for sure this is going to be put into use in the right way. Yes, yes. But unfortunately, some of them, they say, I don't want food. They graduated, they say, no, I don't want food, I want money. So what can you do?
What about the professional ones who you find at the same time, same place, every day? What about those where you know that this is their job basically?
Right. In Islam, first of all, when a person takes their job to be begging is haram. The rule in Islam is that to make your job to be begging and asking people is forbidden in Islam. Yes, when it becomes necessary, that's different. Alright? So if I know for sure that this person is doing this as a profession, then no, you don't have to give them. Because that, in that sense, it's like you are helping them to continue asking. If I know for sure that is their job, then one should not. Yes.
Sheikh, what is the best way of helping someone? Because what happens is sometimes we see a friend in need, or we feel that that person is acting unusually, and we try to start, asking questions, which sometimes the other person do not feel comfortable with. For example, in our case, we lost our son, and some people think that they like to help us, and sometimes they hurt us seriously.
Right.
We don't tell them anything. How should we react? How should a person who is trying to help us, react, and how should we react if we are feeling that, this is not helping us?
Right. No, the person always, when somebody is in need, Islam always teaches us we should help the person in any capacity that we can. Sometimes it's not financially, sometimes it's physical. If a person needs help, you do that. And you go to the Quran, Allah talks about Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he saw the daughters of Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, when they were standing waiting to get water, and because they were ladies, they didn't want to go and fight with the men, and he saw that, he rushed to them. He asked them, why are you here? They said, وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. He talks and he got them the water as quick as possible. He didn't wait until they come to him and say, okay, we need help. No. When you see the help, somebody needs help, you go and help them. But it depends on the needs. I'll give you one example, financial need. There was at the time of the Prophet a man who came and was asking for help. And then they helped him and he left. And then he came the second day. And he was also asking. And then they helped him, he left. The third time he was coming, the Prophet saw him, the Prophet stood up and met him halfway. And he asked him, what do you want? He said, I want help. Then the Prophet said, okay. Then the Prophet took 100 dinar. And he said, this is 100 dinar for you. Half of it, take it and buy any needs that you want. Food, clothes, whatever you need. The other half, he said, take and go to the market. Buy an axe. He said, go to this forest, with my permission, cut any tree that you want and sell it and depend on yourself from the others. That is one of the best help you can help somebody. And we say in America, teach him how to catch a fish and not to teach him how to eat a fish. Because everybody is going to come to eat, right? But if you teach them how to catch a fish, tomorrow they don't have to knock your door. Do you have a fish? No. They don't have to catch it. Right? So that is the best help you can give somebody. Right? That is one. Number two, sometimes the help you can give somebody is education. Right? That is another thing. And another thing is depending on what somebody needs. When somebody loses someone, the best thing they need according to Islam is to give them the comfort. Be in their surrounding. For example, give them some examples that the Prophet lost his son. This is not the beginning, and inshallah there's a great reward in it. To give them a good words that will comfort them. But sometimes some people, they think money is everything. Can I write $100 check? No, that's no answer. Right? So you should look about what the need is and try to offer the needs, what the person needs. And also, in return, the person who has been helped, Islam also always teaches, don't reject the help. لا يرد الخير إلا الشيطان. When somebody offered the help, he said always try to be accepting, so they don't ever feel bad about trying to help and they rejected their help. Yes.
Shaykhna, there is a hadith, as you probably know, hadith that says مَلْعُونٌ مَنْ كَلَّهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ. The curse of Allah is upon the people that they are beggars, usually.
That's right.
Many times, many people that they come here, of course, we are unfortunately, of course, clarifying that. He says, I don't have a job. I say, I'll give you a job. Run a vacuum, it is clean. Run a vacuum here, it takes 10 minutes. I'll give you $20. Yes. But they don't want to do that. And that is the time I told, they are continuously coming for the same purpose. I don't have time. You say you don't have job, you don't have time? Then this is one of the problems that we have. The second issues that I would like to ask you, you have mentioned about the Day of Judgment, that it is a day of really tough one. But would you be kind enough to elaborate, عَلَى الْكَافَرُونَ غَيْرَ يَسِيرٌ. Otherwise, when the moment is going to the life of hereafter, then it is actually Salamun alaykum tibtum bima. So of course,
right. Yes, the life of Yawm al-Qiyamah definitely is not the same for everybody. It's tough for certain people and it's not as hard for certain people. But generally speaking, it's really scary. Because when you go into unknown world, it's always scary. Because you don't know what the outcomes of it is going to be. Al-Mu'min, as they said about Yawm al-Qiyamah, one of the names is called Yawmun Nadama. Nadama means regret. And they said the reason why it's called Yawmun Nadama, the day of regret, because everybody is going to regret. At al-Mu'min, even the believers. How will they regret? They're going to heaven anyway. Kafir, yes, we know, right? Because he sees the Jahannam and he says, I wish I've done good. They say, yes. A mu'min will regret by saying, I wish I knew this is how the reward will be. I would have multiplied my good deed so I can earn even more than the thawab. That's the regret of a mu'min. And that's what's called Yawmun Nadam. So the day of judgment, there's no doubt that it's not across the board for everybody. A mu'min will come and he is happy. And Quran mentioned, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. He will return to his people very happy. So a mu'min will be happy, there's no doubt about that. But then there are a group of people who will be unhappy, and all depends on our actions. And you can tell from the beginning, when we come out of the grave, Quran says, Al-Mu'min has a nur that he can see his way. Al-Kafir is in darkness, and he will say to the Mu'min, انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا. They say, go back and seek that light, that nur that you see with us. They say, we brought it with us from dunya. It's not from here. If you want it, you have to go back. Right? So these are the differences. And Quran mentions what Al-Imran, يَوْمَ تَبِيَضُّ وُجُوهٌ وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهٌ. The day that some people will have a very beautiful, nice looking وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. The people will be shining, beautiful, and some will be very, very dark and very, very bad shape because of all this, is because of their action. Inshallah, may Allah make it among the good ones, inshallah. Yes.
Obviously, the day of judgment and the day of Qiyamah,
Yes.
it's clarified and enhanced, and understanding of that is really well, obviously in the Quran. But my question is, how did Prophet Isa alayhi salam, how did Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, how did they explain to their ummah the concept of Qiyamah, the judgment? How obviously there is a disconnect, right, and how the religion is practicing. So what were their teachings of the day of Qiyamah?
Yes. And so according to the Quran, in Surah Al-Anbiya, most of the prophets they talk about when they call their people. In terms of Allah, in terms of the day of judgment, there is no difference. When you go to the older prophet, it says, أَنِ أَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ وَاجْتَنِبُ الطَّاغُوتِ. All the prophets, they always talk about believing in one God and stay away from idols. That is the custom of all the prophets. And the same thing also in terms of the day of Qiyamah. You know, when you go to some of the Quran, talks about Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, when he was telling his people about the day of judgment, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to punish. So the Quran tells us about all the prophets across the board, they were telling the people that the day of judgment is not a joke. It's a day that one should be prepared for it, and it's very scary. But unfortunately, after those prophets passed, the Prophet Musa and Prophet Isa, there have been some changes according to our belief, that they have made some changes to meet their personal interests of those people who did those changes. Right? So they changed. So some of them don't believe in the day of judgment. Some of them believe that there is day of judgment, but it's only beneficial if only you believe in Isa alayhi salam. Because he was born and brought here and got killed, so that his blood wipes our sin. And that is what they see in the terms of believing in the day of judgment. But otherwise, all the prophets, they have the same concept of Islam as with the Prophet Muhammad, that the day of judgment is the day of accountability, the same one.
In fact, when Musa alayhi salam is telling Pharaoh that if you do good, you will be Jannatun Tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. Then Pharaoh is answering, هذه
أنهار تجري من تحتي.
What is he talking about? I have all of you. That's what he.
Yes.
Question for Aimma, like in Surah Fajr at the end when it talks about Nafse Mutmainna, it says basically do the Aimma go into Barzakh, or they directly sort of bypass and they don't have Yawm al-Qiyamah for them, they're already in Jannah? Because Allah there says Irjai, like he's immediately saying come.
Right.
He's not saying that I will put you in Jannah, he's saying come right now. So can you elaborate on that?
The answer is Ahlul-bait also are in Barzakh. Right now, to make it clear, Yawm al-Qiyamah is empty plot. It's empty, nobody's there. Because that world is empty right now. Right? Because that world starts with what? A sayha. According to the Quran. فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي السُّورِ فَإِذَا هُمْ جَمِيعٌ لَدَيْنَا مُحْضَرُونَ. In Surah Yasin. When they blew that horn, Allah said then all of them, جَمِيعٌ, the word used, nobody will be left, they all will come to us. Which means they're not. Right? So in the Ahlul-bait alayhimus salam and the Prophet, they all in the Barzakh right now. But which Barzakh are we talking about? Because Barzakh also is two parts. One part is called Jannah. One part is called Nar, hellfire. Right? Because even in Barzakh, there are some people who have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentioned about Shuhada, it says, عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم. So even in Barzakh there is a blessing. And the same thing also in Barzakh there is a punishment too. Al-Quran mentioned about Fir'aun. It says, النار يعرضون عليهم غدوا وعشيا. Hellfire is being presented to them in the morning and in the evening. In Barzakh, they get punished. But the punishment of Barzakh is not the same as the punishment of Yawm al-Qiyamah. In other words, punishment of Barzakh is like appetizer. Right? Just warm up, inshallah, your mouth. Right? Yawm al-Qiyamah, the biggest one is coming. Right? And Mu'min is the same thing. You know, they're just warming up, inshallah, waiting for the Barzakh, for the Qiyamah. And the Qiyamah will be the biggest one, inshallah.
Sister, don't ask questions usually.
Yes.
Yeah, we have one minute. Last question if somebody has before Salat. Any other questions?
I don't think that's question. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآل محمد.